All right, hi everyone. So I'm from Israel, and Bala was kind enough to invite me to do this talk after I already said yes to coming. So thank you, Bala, for having us here. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about inclusive design, and since we're an engaging lot, I'll ask some questions. You guys are free to jump in if you feel like joining. So anybody know what the common denominator for these products are, like where they came out of? So that's a good guess, but no, these all came out of NASA. So these are all technologies that were invented for spaceflight and ended up being incorporated for general use for the general public. How about microwave technology, nylon thread, and GPS? Any Americans here would probably know this.
Army.
Yep, correct. The U.S. Army developed all of these for warfare and organization, and they, again, made themselves common use for everyone. How about these? So the OXO peeler, a typewriter, and closed captioning. It's the last guess, I promise. So these are all invented for one specific person and ended up being allocated for common use. And I'll talk a little bit about their history soon, but this is the first example I like to start with. So it's Alexander Graham Bell. A lot of you know that he may have gotten the phone, to common use, but not a lot of you may know that his wife and his mother were both hard of hearing. They used kind of a horn to listen. And part of his motivation for getting this technology out was getting them to be in communication with him while he was traveling, while he was away. And so another fact that I always loved is that, so you hear this a lot in pitches about disability and different products, that 20% of the population is disabled for different reasons, some of them visible, some of them not. But we are all temporarily able, meaning we'll all grow up, we'll all have difficulty with some form of function, and I think that's a really good thing to keep in mind when you're designing a product. Talking about the OXO peeler, so OXO actually stands for OXO, which is hugs and kisses. It is a product that you'll soon see the designer that came up with it, but he basically had a neighbor, and his mother, this designer was working as an industrial designer, had his own firm, and his neighbor's mother had arthritis. And she kept complaining about the fact that holding a speed peeler was difficult, closing her hand on a narrow metal rod like that and peeling a vegetable. And so he took this as a challenge and started coming up with different ways to design peelers. These are only 3 of the over 200 iterations that came on. And he ended up with a speed peeler that she could hold. It was larger, so her hand could close more easily. It was soft, so she could grip it for longer. And it ended up being useful for everyone. And so, something that was really went out of this process is now sold on Amazon or in stores worldwide. And basically, this is the view that he took on industrial design. Things should be designed for the common use. And so when I talk about inclusive design, I'm basically talking about designing for the ends of the spectrum, people who can, do too much or too little of something. And so once you cover the ends, the middle is basically arced through. And if you think about more technologies that are common use in the market, so up top there is a technology based on EEG technology, and basically, if you don't know that term, so it's a minimum of 9 points that go on your head and can read brain waves. And those brain waves are translated to controlling a device, and that was designed for a person with disabilities with ALS that couldn't communicate otherwise, and now it's used, you can find it in any science museum to be a Jedi for a day. You can put this on your head and basically reach your arm out and think of a ball, and the ball will kind of hover up, and you'll become a Jedi. And so the 2B Technology is a company that designed a technology based on image recognition. It tracks your eyes, and those eye movements become a controller for a game, and that's now used for a controller for a game or communication of a computer. And basically that's today used in common knowledge for everyone who wants to use an HTC, for example. It can track your eye movements, and you can use it in VR. It started out for people in wheelchairs that didn't have their hands handy and wanted to communicate. And these companies ended up incorporating into larger companies out in the market that you may recognize. And that brings me to the fact that these larger companies, all of them, have slowly understood and gotten it outside to public communication that they need to be inclusive, and you'll see that a lot of them have iconography for different disabilities, and they develop this iconography themselves. So it's another form of communication saying this product will fit a visually impaired or hearing impaired person, and you can easily identify this. This is specifically Microsoft, but every big company has their own going on. And that brings me to the way that communication has evolved. It's constantly iterating itself. You've heard today about natural language, and I'm sure there's going to be another jump after that. But basically, on top of that, things have become smaller and smaller. And put that together with the fact that you can 3D print, not having to go to a specific factory to manufacture a thought that you had for a product. You can now iterate in 3D printing, and this is basically Reebok creating their first soles in 3D printing, offer it to the public in that specific shoe in 2016. Now you can do that with any product that you come up with. It could be soft, it could be hard, it could be implanted in a human body, and it can be iterated and manufactured from minutes to days. So put that together with social network and the fact that everybody is basically walking around with a tiny computer in their hand. And the fact that iteration has gotten even faster. Now you can iterate on the thought of speech. The faster you can formulate a sentence, the faster you can create an ideation for a new idea. I find that really exciting, and I find all of those things really prevalent and ready there for inclusive design. Coming as a founder that really believes in inclusive design, past my belief, you can see that 90% of people are happier to use inclusive products. People that integrate inclusive design within their from day one, their customers are 45% more happier or more satisfied with the product, and their employees are happy to be working in that company. So I'd really love all of you founders and makers and thought leaders to keep that in mind when you start designing for the next thing. Now, talking a little bit about what I do, I come from a company called 6 Degrees. And we started looking at human motion. And the way that we started is that we put a bunch of people in a room like this. We gave them each a device, and we asked them all to move right and move left and move up and move down. And the device was in the same hand and the same wrist. And we found that there was less than 30% in common in the data for everyone using it in the room. And basically what that means in an elaborate way is that everybody moves differently. And so that's where we started. We wanted to learn about individual motion and use that as a form of communication with technology, with computers, phones, tablets, basically anything with an operating system that has a Bluetooth connection. We wanted to be able to use motion in order to control that. And we started it from a personal story, like a lot of things start. I'm here with my co-founder and husband, Arye, who I met at the age of 19, around a month after he got injured as a paratrooper in the military. His leg injury, paired with the fact that I come from a family of doctors, turned our second date into, this is your neurosurgeon, you will now learn what the operation is, and then physical therapy started. We spent a lot of time in rooms with 18 to 22-year-olds that had an injury to their arms and their legs, and basically past physical pain, that limitation of motion came with a loss of independence. And the loss of independence and the fact that people wanted to regain that and people wanted to reduce their pain level is something that all of these people keep working on every day of their lives. And so that really guided us into starting a company. We got really talented people around us that ran over 17,000 employees, are behind designs for large companies like Microsoft and SAP. And basically together, we put in a target of getting 300 million people around the world that lost use of their hands back into communication with the digital world. It stands around 4.3% of the population, or in Iceland, 16,500 people that can't use their hands because of things like paralysis due to stroke, Parkinson, tremor, injury, and many others. Basically, we wanted to get them back in communication with technology in order to get them back to work communication and play. So we came up with a wearable device that takes around a 5-minute onboarding. In that onboarding, we learn 1,000 different aspects of their motion embedded, or AI is embedded in the device. After that 5 minutes, we create a baseline, so basically a motion number, you can think of it that way. And that motion number is specific to that user. Now they can open a Bluetooth on a phone, a computer, a tablet, a gaming device, and control that device using their existing motion. And that means if they have tremor, the mouse will move smoothly on the other side. If they have limited motion, we'll give them full use of the screen, because as far as we're concerned, or the algorithm is concerned, that's the full ability, and so on. And basically, it's a plug and play, because our imagination was you wake up in the morning, you want to use your phone, you want to use the car media console, you want to get to work and use your computer and come home and play a game. You wouldn't be able to do this with installing an app in every single one of these things. So we wanted to find the lowest threshold possible, which for us was Bluetooth communication and an embedded AI. And so we basically looked at things that are there in the market. There are technologies for EEG, like I explained before, or image recognition. But again, all of these require an installation. They're amazing solutions for people that didn't have them before, but we really wanted to give people the freedom to use a variety of devices and really do it on a personalized level. So it'll keep adapting and keep learning and keep reacting to you versus you learning on how to use another controller, another trackpad, another mouse in order to control the other side. We've evolved since and spent a lot of time in rehabilitation centers, and physical and occupational therapists said, well, how can we see what the algorithm sees? Can we see the changes in range, ability, speed, accuracy that your device learns and adapts to? And so, like good Israelis, we said yes, and then figured out how to do it. We basically worked with Sheba, one of the 10 leading rehabilitation hospitals in the world, doing research on how to reduce phantom limb pain for lower limb amputees. Basically, what you see is our device, the same device I'm wearing on my wrist. They're wearing on their legs, below the knee, one on each leg. And so it'll translate the motion of a limb, whatever limb it is, to a virtual leg moving in a game. And when they move the leg in real life, they'll see all the way down to the foot manipulated for each side. They'll be able to play soccer and kick a virtual ball and feel haptics for their leg kicking it, see it, hear it, and basically convince their brain that the leg is there while getting a report on how that treatment went and how, compared to the last one and so on. And what you'll see now is feedback from one of our users. There's closed captioning on the bottom since it's in Hebrew.
שלום, שמי גן גיסר מנחם, אני קטוע רגל, באתי לאחר כאבי פנטום לניסוי פה במציאות מדומה, וזה עזר לי המון. זה עזר, זה הוריד מ-8-9 בדרגה 1-10, זה הוריד לי ל-3, לכלום. אני כמעט שלא לוקח קנאביס, לפני זה לקחתי קנאביס. תודה.
Yeah, so cannabis is a common subscription for pain reduction and basically used a lot. But in summary, we see this technology, as I said, used throughout the day. And so we don't just want to design it for people with disabilities. We want everyone to use it as a form of communication in the future, embedded on wearable devices. And this is kind of where we're growing to. We're constantly working with different partners, different people in order to see how this can be embedded in multiple verticals with the guidance of that first person waking up in the morning, being able to use it throughout the day. So if it services that person with a motion disability, that's when we start considering to say yes. You can read a little bit about us online, but basically what I wanted to summarize up with is that that inclusive design shouldn't be a goal, it should be a way of life, and basically designing with purpose and sensitivity and an overall thought of the users on the other side can get everybody's voices heard and everyone included in society, and we really invite you to take that with you today home and come talk to us if you want to hear more. Thanks a lot.